Section: Introduction. In this section, we address the challenge of supervising AI models, particularly large language models, LLMs, that outperform human capabilities. This issue, known as superalignment, is complicated by the scarcity of high-quality labeled data, which limits our ability to oversee these models directly. Our main question is whether we can use weaker models, trained on simpler tasks, to help improve stronger models in more complex situations, a concept referred to as weak to strong, W2S, generalization. We note that previous research has primarily relied on a single weak supervisor, which restricts the diversity and effectiveness of the guidance provided. This single perspective often fails to adequately instruct stronger models on complex tasks, indicating a need for a more varied supervisory approach. Additionally, past studies have focused on transferring knowledge from weak to strong models without enhancing the weak models themselves, leaving them under-optimized for complex problems. Moreover, the complexity of tasks has not been sufficiently addressed in earlier work. While some studies have touched on this, a more systematic examination is necessary to understand how task difficulty affects supervision. To tackle these issues, we propose a new ensemble-based method aimed at improving W2's generalization. Our approach features an easy-to-hard E2H framework, which emphasizes the transition from simpler to more complex tasks. This reflects real-world scenarios where human oversight is more manageable for easier tasks, allowing weak models to guide stronger models through harder challenges. We also introduce an AdaBoost-inspired ensemble method for both generation and classification tasks. By combining the guidance from multiple weak models, we create a more robust supervisory system for stronger LLMs. This ensemble method not only addresses the limitations of relying on a single supervisor but also enhances the weak models, ensuring they can provide valuable support even in complex situations. Our experiments show that this ensemble approach improves the generalization abilities of weak models and allows stronger models to perform comparably to those trained on high-quality data. The key contributions of our work include: 1. We present an AdaBoost-inspired ensemble method that combines weak LLMs to enhance supervision for stronger models, achieving improvements of up to 14% in binary classification tasks. 2. We extend our framework to supervised fine-tuning for autoregressive LLMs, where our algorithm uses a voting mechanism to adjust token probabilities, sometimes outperforming strong models trained on ground truth. 3. We propose a practical E2H framework for W2's generalization, demonstrating significant improvements when weak models guide strong LLMs. In summary, we explore the E2H framework as a realistic approach to studying W2's generalization, where weak models trained on easy tasks supervise strong models tackling harder problems. This setup closely mirrors real-world conditions and aims to bridge the performance gap in AI model training. Section Summary. In this section, we address the challenge of supervising advanced AI models through a novel ensemble-based method that leverages weak models trained on simpler tasks to guide stronger models in tackling more complex problems. Our easy-to-hard framework enhances weak model capabilities and demonstrates significant improvements in performance, showcasing the feasibility of weak-to-strong generalization in real-world scenarios with limited human oversight. Section: The easy-to-hard framework. In this section, we present the easy-to-hard framework, where we utilize a weak model as our teacher. We train a state-of-the-art language model on a set of easy data, which includes labeled examples like Go games, math problems, or common sense questions. Although we call this model a weak teacher, it is only weak in comparison to the stronger model we aspire to create. The easy data is relatively simpler than the hard data, which we currently cannot solve with existing models. Next, we define a strong model as an upper bound for our thought experiment. We assume we have access to the true labels of the hard data, which is not practical but helps us set this upper limit. This strong model is larger than our weak teacher because we believe that solving difficult questions requires a model with greater capacity. To explore the weak to strong generalization, we will train a transfer model that matches the size of the strong model but does not rely on the unrealistic assumption of having access to hard labels. Instead, we will use feedback from the weak teacher and consider using pseudo-labeled data for training. For our datasets, we use the SciQ dataset for binary classification and convert it into binary labels. We also employ the ARC and Quartz datasets for supervised fine-tuning, which allows us to create multiple-choice pseudo-labels. We generate difficulty ratings for our datasets using a cross-validation method, training on most of the data and testing on the remaining part. We repeat this process multiple times to aggregate errors, which we use as difficulty ratings. We then split the data based on these ratings for training our weak and strong models. In practical scenarios, we may have many weak supervisors but few strong ones. Our approach aims to combine multiple weak supervisors to enhance weak to strong generalization. We will detail how to merge these diverse weak teachers to create a competitive model that ideally matches or exceeds the performance of the strong model. We introduce our method using AdaBoost for two tasks: binary classification and supervised fine-tuning. We apply the AdaBoost algorithm to gather answers from each weak teacher for a hard question, using a weighted majority vote to generate a consensus answer, known as a pseudo-label. This method leverages the collective knowledge of weak teachers to form a stronger learner, improving our binary classification tasks. Our results show that the combined performance of weak experts surpasses that of a single weak expert. In our training methodology, we focus on minimizing errors on reweighted examples, ensuring that our weak experts perform better than random. Although individually weak, their combined knowledge has the potential to create a stronger expert. Section Summary. In this section, we outline a framework for weak to strong generalization by training a weak model on easy data and using multiple weak teachers to enhance performance on hard tasks. We employ AdaBoost to aggregate the outputs of these weak models, aiming to create a stronger learner that surpasses the individual weak model's capabilities. Section: Improving AdaBoost for complex generation tasks. In this section, we discuss how we improve the AdaBoost algorithm for complex generation tasks. The standard AdaBoost assumes a sophisticated feedback system based on scores, but large language models, LLMs, generate coherent text, making direct application of AdaBoost difficult. This is due to two main reasons. First, the output is a sequence of text rather than a single label, and second, different models may produce answers in various formats, complicating the combination of their outputs. To tackle these issues, we introduce a modified version of AdaBoost, which we call EnsemW2S AdaBoost, designed for multiple-choice question and answer tasks. In our approach, the number of classes corresponds to the vocabulary size, treating each token as an independent sample. Our first modification involves assigning weights to each token in a sentence. We create an initial weight vector for all tokens, updating these weights in each iteration of EnsemW2S AdaBoost. For data sampling, we select tokens based on their weights, but instead of treating them as independent samples, we group them back into their original sentences and apply label masks to focus training on the selected tokens. During each iteration, we train a new weak teacher model on the sampled data. We also incorporate a prior term in our calculations, which helps generate weak models with accuracy between 50% and random chance, ensuring that our parameters remain positive. This prior term reflects the pre-trained model's error, providing a sensible baseline. We also adjust our weighted error calculation, ensuring that the model's error is less than the pre-training error. Our weight update equation normalizes the updated weights to maintain consistency. To generate pseudo-answers for difficult questions, we combine outputs from different experts trained in various rounds of EnsemW2S AdaBoost. We scale the probability distribution for each token by its corresponding weight and aggregate these distributions, normalizing them to create a new probability distribution for each token. This process is autoregressive, meaning each token's generation influences the next. In multiple-choice datasets, instead of using generated tokens as pseudo-answers, we select the choice with the lowest negative log likelihood, NLL, compared to the generated tokens. For datasets without multiple choices, we directly use the generated tokens. We train a strong student model using the pseudo answers from hard data, focusing solely on these examples to maintain consistency. Our ablation studies showed that combining logits directly did not improve results, and we found better outcomes by treating tokens as independent rather than samples. For evaluation, we use two metrics: token-wise comparison, which averages the error of predicted tokens, and option-wise comparison, which assesses the NLL of the correct answer against incorrect ones. Accuracy is determined by how often the correct answer has the lowest NLL among all choices. Section Summary. In this section, we address the challenges of applying the AdaBoost algorithm to complex generation tasks by proposing EnsemW2S AdaBoost, a modified multi-class AdaBoost that treats tokens as independent samples and incorporates token-level weighting and sampling. Our approach enhances the generation process by aggregating outputs from multiple weak models, reducing errors, and improving the robustness of pseudo-labeling for hard data in multiple-choice question answering. Section: Related work. In this section, we discuss related work on weak to strong generalization, particularly in the context of the superalignment problem. The concept was first introduced by weak to strong, which aimed to harness the full potential of a strong model using only weak model supervision. They provided a theoretical framework that outlines the possible improvements, although their focus was limited to simple neural networks. Other studies have established conditions under which weak to strong generalization can occur, primarily in basic binary classification tasks. Some research has shown that it is possible to exceed the capabilities of the training data model under certain conditions, which, while not directly related to weak to strong, offers valuable insights. Several efforts have been made to tackle weak to strong generalization in large language models, LLMs. One approach attempted to enhance supervision through ensemble learning for binary classification tasks but did not yield significant improvements. Another introduced a model that aligns LLMs with human intentions by correcting discrepancies in answers, effectively using weak models to boost complex systems performance. Additionally, a scalable method was proposed for generalization, which involves training reward models on simpler tasks to assess performance on more challenging ones. Another study utilized multiple specialized weak supervisors instead of a single model for weak to strong generalization. In our experimental setup, we test two strategies for each task. The first aligns with previous work, where we randomly split the training data into weak and strong sets. The weak model is trained on the weak data, while the strong model uses pseudo-labels generated from the weak model. The second strategy divides the data into easy and hard categories, with the easy data serving as weak training and the hard data as strong training. This approach is more realistic for weak to strong generalization. Our goal for both strategies is to bridge the performance gap and fully utilize the strong model's capabilities through an ensemble of weak models. For our experiments, we use a baseline that relies on a single model for weak to strong generalization. We run AdaBoost and EnsemW2S AdaBoost multiple times for binary classification tasks and generation tasks, selecting the best performing rounds for our results. We find that all rounds outperform the baseline, and we also assess the performance of the weak model. In the binary classification task, we observe significant improvements in weak model accuracy when applying AdaBoost, leading to enhanced performance gap recovery. Notably, in the case of the GPT-2 medium to GPT-2 large pair, we see the performance gap exceed 100%, indicating that the transfer model has surpassed the strong model's performance, which is the goal of weak to strong generalization. When analyzing results with easy and hard training data splits, we again see improvements in weak model accuracy and performance gap values. However, we note that we have not yet reached the full potential of the strong model, especially with very small and large model pairs, despite improvements in weak model accuracy. Overall, we achieve up to a 14% accuracy increase compared to the baseline, with average improvements of 6.52% and 3% for random and easy hard splits, respectively. In examining scaling laws, we find less performance gap recovery for the QWEN 1.8b model, despite its similar size to GPT-2 XL. This suggests that model capability, rather than size, is a more effective metric for distinguishing between weak and strong models. Our analysis of accuracy and performance gap plots reveals that performance gap values can be misleading, as they may yield very high or even negative results. In our weak to strong experiments, large values indicate that the ensemble of weak models has become strong enough to match or exceed the strong model, while negative values suggest that the transfer model performed worse than the weak model, often due to the strong model's failure to learn effectively. Further details can be found in the appendix. Section Summary. In this section, we review various approaches to weak to strong W2S generalization, highlighting methods that leverage weak models to enhance the performance of strong models, including ensemble learning and data splitting strategies. Our experiments demonstrate significant improvements in model accuracy and performance gap recovery, particularly with AdaBoost, although challenges remain in fully realizing the capabilities of stronger models. Section: Generation task for multiple choice dataset. In this section, we compare the performance of a single weak model with that of combined weak models after 5 rounds of our EnsemW2S AdaBoost approach. We observe that smaller models show more significant improvements, which aligns with our expectation that ensemble methods work best when the weak models are diverse. Through data sampling, smaller models can diversify effectively, while larger models tend to absorb all available information and struggle to learn differently in each round. We use token error as a metric in our analysis since it provides a clearer measure of improvement for weak models. Next, we assess the performance of strong models by calculating the classification accuracies for our multiple-choice tasks. The accuracy values for token-wise metrics are detailed in the appendix tables. Our results indicate that training with an ensemble of experts consistently outperforms the baseline of a single expert, demonstrating the advantages of ensemble learning. We notice a trend in accuracy and performance gaps for different model pairs across the Quartz and ARC datasets. For the Quartz data, our PGR percentage improves as the model size increases, except for the smallest weak model, which suggests that the capability gap between small and large models hinders the strong model's learning from the weak one. This trend is consistent in both our EnsemW2S and the baseline. When examining the results with easy-hard training data splits, we again find that our ensemble approach outperforms the baseline. The improvement is more pronounced with easy-hard splits compared to random splits for 2 reasons. The combination of weak models is more effective when they are slightly different, and the easy-hard split increases the gap between weak and strong models, allowing for greater improvement. We also note that the PGR for easy-to-hard generalization is significantly lower, indicating the complexity of this problem, and we hope our findings inspire researchers to develop more advanced methods for tackling it. Additionally, we observe that as models become more capable, both our performance and the baseline improve. Finally, we conduct an experiment to highlight the importance of easy-to-hard generalization. For the Quartz dataset, we see a notable improvement when larger models are trained on hard data, indicating their greater ability to handle complex information. In contrast, while we see improvements across all models with the ARC dataset, the margins are smaller, suggesting less disparity between easy and hard samples.